Hello, I'm Bob the Booker and welcome to my channel. Today, with it being now in the midst of winter, at least in the UK, um, I really wanted to talk about a book that I've read recently that meant quite a lot and that I thought was really important, considering especially everything around this. And that book is Wintering by Katharine May. And to this, I think, is a relatively recent book, I think in the last few years, a non-fiction book where Katharine May talks about her own experiences with illness and with sort of dealing with everything that's going on in the world and in her sort of personal life, and how that forced her to shut down and stop for a while. And this is something that really, I think, was sort of, that case of the right book at the right time for me. I think I've been perhaps burning the candle at both ends for quite a while. And so this was quite an interesting book around this. So for those of you who've not read it, the book is really sort of the central sort of theme of this book is talking about just slowing down and how to sort of stop and take stock. And she sort of makes the argument throughout that humans, and indeed sort of the world in general, is meant to sort of run on a sort of schedule whereby there is a sort of a fallow season, a season where things stop, where things slow down. Typically for the UK, that's winter. I mean, we shut down not only because a little bit of snow will fall on a train track and everything is suddenly shut, but just also just generally, the colder season is where animals will hibernate, where various other kind of creatures will sort of change their habits for a small while, or will, you know, slow things down. She gives the examples of dormice, dormice, singular dormouse, plural dormice, I believe, and how they sort of will sort of fatten up and eat lots in the sort of lead up, will hibernate, and sort of every 10 or so days will sort of wake up, have a little bit of food and sort of go back to sleep. And that's sort of how they survive the winter period. And whereas all of this sounds like it's just sort of like, yes, Bob, that's how nature works. I think actually what's so interesting about this book is the way she then relates it to her own life. And so she talks about dealing with illness that meant that she was signed off work, partly through stress, partly through sort of other things that were going on. She talks about how sort of emotionally she was sort of burnt out and checked out and needed a break, and how all of that led her to kind of thinking about it in a sense of actually having a proper winter, having a period where she shuts down, where she slows things down and sees that as a natural part of her life. And she also sort of makes the argument that this doesn't have to be just during the winter season, although it's a very good time to do so, because typically you have more holiday then, and typically it's easier to stay indoors and just sort of get cozy because it's often miserable outside, again, at least in the UK. But also that this can be a sort of cyclical thing. It doesn't have to be waiting for a whole season to shut down. It could be, seeing your month and thinking, actually, for a few days this month, I'm going to really stop and slow down. And this sort of, again, like I was saying, has been sort of the right book at the right moment, in that I think I've been running myself a bit ragged this year slash every year. And so as we kind of come into the winter period, I am very much enjoying the idea of not only sitting around in nice jumpers, well, I think it's nice, but also just really stopping for a moment to take stock. And obviously, again, Christmas, the winter break is a good one for that, because obviously New Year's also gives an option for New Year's resolutions, for taking stock over the previous year. But I think it's also really important to think about how we actually are sort of kind and nice to ourselves. I have definitely not been particularly great at this, but and I know that I've got quite a busy winter break period because I need to finish a dissertation that I've been putting off for my master's for the last few months. So I will be fairly busy, and obviously things like videos and whatever as well. But um, I think all of this is sort of just partly to say this is a great book and I really think you should check it out, but also to be kind to ourselves during this winter break. I think it's always a tricky one each year because it sort of feels like the world has sort of stopped, but yes, we're like, well, I've got loads to do. This is, I'm going to get everything sorted. I'm going to do this and whatever. But actually, we probably should be a little bit kinder to ourselves. And on a similar note, something's falling in my room. On a similar note, I think it's also about making some time in our own schedules to really stop and reflect. People being readers is a great example of how we often do this as well, and we sort of give ourselves time to sit and read. And I am very much enjoying the idea of spending a lot of the winter break just reading and catching up with books that I've been wanting to read, that are less kind of, hey, I need to read this for a specific reason, and more, hey, this book I've been putting off reading for a very long time, let's finally do it. So at the risk of this sounding like the alternative Queen's Christmas message, I will stop there. But have a wonderful break, have a great Christmas if you celebrate it, be kind to yourselves, and yeah, see you soon. Take care. Bye bye.